Well, folks, we are having technical difficulties yet again. What's new? How we doing? Can you hear me? It switched again. You heard me on Tony's show. Um, Hearing me? I don't think you are. You can see me. That's a start. You hear me? You can hear me. Sound is good. Okay. Yay, we're here. It switched over to my AirPods. I don't know why it does this kind of crap. I mean, it's just so stupid. So sorry, because I saw it switched over. Let me try to put these in, or should I not even dare? Let's see. And hope it doesn't switch over. Just let's see. Let's see if I can just get the sound from here. If I can't, we'll leave well alone. How you doing, guys? We all doing well? I'm good. Excellent. How are folks out there doing? We have a good weekend. We survived the Trump inshitification of our country. We get through that. All right. Awesome. Sorry, this stuff throws me off a bit and makes it a bit frustrating, but we're going to get through this together. Cool. Well, why don't I just get in the swing of all of the things here, and do my first take down my note, and we can go from there. And we're going to have a great guest on today. I should just give you a roundup. I lost my train of thought. We're doing some FAFO today, which is going to be fun. We're going to have on actually also a member of or leader of Leaving MAGA, a group that he left in 2021. Awesome dude, Rich, and he convinces others to do the same thing. He saw the light. I thought that'd be a really interesting interview. You may not agree with him on everything. I called and spoke to him first, though. Seemed like a great guy, and we can talk about that. Upset about the Notre Dame OSU game. I understand. I'm sorry. This family, my grandfather-in-law went to OSU, so I got to be happy about that. But so we can do this before Tony comes on. Why don't we just get right to it first? All right. And which one of these should we do first? Well, I was just talking about a little bit of the stuff in the Capitol. So why don't we talk about Elon Musk? Why don't we talk about his big smile salute that he gave? That of course every excuse was given in the book. Oh, Elon didn't know what he was doing. He's not really, supporting that. And some people even tried to blame neurodivergence, which is crap. A lot of neurodivergent folks jumped in and are like, yeah, I'm autistic. I know not to salute Hitler. Right. I mean, right. I still know that Pol Pot and Idi Amin were kind of bad guys. But Elon Musk, in between getting in fights with Vivek Ramaswamy and other members of Trump's core, besides Trump wanting to get rid of him and saying, why is Elon around so much, got up and acted like his usual stupid self and danced around on stage, kind of screamed, yelled like an ape, and then did his salute twice, which I won't do. He even did, though, the part where he hit his chest. Again, some people are like, well, that was the Roman salute. The Third Reich saw itself as a continuation of the Roman Empire. That was the First Reich. You see, so they got it from the Romans. That's not really an excuse. Now, there's only 3 reasons that Elon Musk could have made a Nazi salute on stage, and I'm going to give them to you, and they're all just as bad as the others. First, you may remember when he first showed up on Twitter, one of the reasons I think he became so radicalized and angry and such a right-wing little weenie incel male is because of the fact that he thought he was really funny because people faked laughing around him for years because he was a billionaire. And they had to kiss his billionaire butt. But when he went on a platform of people that didn't, we all realized that all he had was uncle jokes. I mean, the most painful, stupid humor. And I mean, it was just ludicrous how bad his humor was. Painful is looking at that pasty, white, gelatinous body of his. So he got offended by that. Well, maybe he was making a joke. He could have been. Seriously. It's not to defend him. If you don't have the understanding that that is not a joke and that you're a moron for making it, I don't think I'm going to feel sorry for you. I think I'm going to blame you and hold you accountable, you schmuck. Second thing he could have been doing is trolling people like us. And yeah, if you troll people with a salute of people that killed mass murder 11 million people, 6 million Jews, 5 million others, many more in war. Ah, that's a great trolling. You're great, man. You really own the libs there. Kind of like how you own the libs to destroy Twitter and have your market share of people buying Tesla in this country. Anybody who'd want to buy it, who's liberal, not buying it anymore. Good ownership of the libs there, Elon. Yeah, let's try your Neuralink next. Maybe you can connect that to your own brain and mess around and come up with a sense of humor if you play around with it. Try the parietal lobe. That's where judgment comes from. I have a feeling that that is non-existent in your silly, silly skull. And the third reason, of course, is that he just was making a Nazi salute because he's a Nazi. And sometimes Occam's razor, folks. Why would you salute Nazis if you're not a Nazi? There have been other Republicans that have made similar gestures in the past. Laura Ingraham did once. It looked a hell of a lot like one at a Republican convention. I don't know if it was 2020. But this, with the hitting of the chest part and doing it twice, was as obvious as possible. It's right in your face. And that's where we are in American history now, where this is the wealthiest man in the world, even though he's an idiot and has spent a lot of ways to lose money lately. He's still the wealthiest man in the world, spent over $100 million on the American, getting the, Donald Trump, who's basically is broke before his scams, his Bitcoin scams and whatever, elected. He turned Twitter into the Trump platform, and we know now killed everybody else's algorithm, as we guessed, and made sure that all the good Trump stuff was highlighted everywhere. He manipulated the election. He lied. And if, according to Trump, he knows those voting computers really well. What does that mean? I don't know. But beyond all of that, beyond the obvious right here and what he did for Trump, he has written an article and he endorsed the ADF, which is the fascist, actually literally as close to Nazis as you can get party in Germany, who he wants to win. Even mainstream conservatives are scared of them. They've come out with and embraced their Nazi past. The far right in the UK, a guy that's been arrested for rape, I believe, sounds like Hegseth, Trump, right? Elon Musk, sexual harassment makes sense. The far, far right of the United Kingdom and picked a fight with the labor leader there and tried to get involved in their inner politics. He's done the same thing in France, where he's come out in support of Le Pen. He's right now in and same thing in Canada, attacking Trudeau. Key other NATO allies, he's spending his time fluffing for Putin, pushing for fascism, and trying to undermine with his platforms and his money and his stupid, loud voice that, again, all the time, just hearing his dumbass talk because he's like JD Vance in a donut shop. He sort of can't even look at people and communicate with them and then makes a stupid joke inevitably. He's such a freaking loser. So he's picking all these fights across Europe, but they're fighting back and answering him. They've got better laws to protect against disinformation. He's spreading disinformation everywhere here. And the key of all of this is, again, Occam's razor. When you embrace a Nazi party in Germany, when you embrace a Nazi party in the United Kingdom, when you embrace a Nazi party in the United States, when you embrace a Nazi party in Canada, and you embrace a Nazi party in France, you may be a Nazi. You may have just given a salute of what you believe in, not to mention the George Soros and other anti-Semitic and other similar conspiracy theories of, like, some egg on Twitter, which is, douche123 is their name. And he, of course, retweets it it was Einstein. So that's what we've got right now. He has a White House office. He's not just like some billionaire. He has the most money. He owns Trump. He bought Trump the office, and now he's got an office in the White House where Trump will be able to listen to him. He spends all his time railing on things like DEI because he wants to say the N-word badly and can't. He is a direct threat to America. He has national security risk. He's got defense contracts. I don't know how that continued under a Democratic administration, but I don't know a lot of things. But he's made very clear with his salute, with the parties he's chosen in Europe, with supporting Donald Trump here, with what he's done with Twitter. He's a Nazi through and through. He should be treated as a Nazi. He should be called a Nazi. And you should never again refer to him really as almost anything else but a Nazi. The dude was born in apartheid South Africa. That's where his parents made their money. He's as Nazi as Nazis come. Okay? So, in summary, right now, Elon Musk is a threat to our country. Elon Musk, finally, Democrats have gotten in and calling him out for his Nazi salute. I mean, even Republicans have. A whole group of people, and even those who in our corporate media, a few had the courage to do it. A lot of them were like, he was very enthusiastic. I'm sure Himmler was enthusiastic too. And, there's probably a really good chance that Pinochet was. I don't care. Do your fucking job. Well, let's be the ones who grow our platforms. Let's be the ones who we all support each other. I just talked about it this morning on Stephanie Miller. I've talked about it earlier today on Bob Seska. I talked about it on Tony's show. Let's grow our progressive media so we can make sure everybody knows this guy, this is Charles Lindbergh with billions of dollars. Okay. He's a disgruntled loser, apartheid baby, chubby little Nazi. And that's what he is. And that's what we should call him. And that's how we should fight him. That has been my first takedown of the day, if you will. I believe I see a man named Tony, who's not a Nazi as far as I know, which is good. So I'm going to invite him into the chat.
Not that I know of either. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever heiled Hitler at America's Hitler's inauguration. And that's some crazy stuff.
It really is. Jim, I'll say quickly, thank you if you're listening to Stephanie's show this morning. It's been a day. We could say that. That was crazy stuff. And inexcusable, right? There have been other times where you can actually find it a defense for it, you know. But as I wrote on Substack earlier, you know, I mean, again, like I sometimes I used to blush in the past. Not blush, that's not the right word, but I used to
get embarrassed.
Well, yeah, I used to be embarrassed because I felt like I was a fake Jew. because well, okay. I don't go to temple, and I have not been in a temple in years, and don't believe.
You're secular.
Well, but that's the thing is I'm spiritual in my own way, but I don't believe in organized religion at all. I think organized religion is largely a sham.
Your beef is with the organization of and profiteering off.
My beef is with the profiteering and people telling me that ghosts came back and did this and did that, and like, okay. Yeah. Okay. You're basically just happened long enough before Scientology, so no one could question you the way they do that. I mean, had there been cameras around,
like I don't like the old world Scientology, just like I don't like the new world.
That's what I mean. If there had been cameras around then, you know, people could question Xenu or whoever the fuck they believe in.
Right.
Xenu, the warrior goddess. Is that who it is?
Right.
Thank you to ET. I'll get to that. I'll read them out all a little bit later, but I just want to continue on this thought right now. Oh, sorry, Holly Fafo. I'll post my Instagram if you have one. Kind of cool. I didn't mean to put anybody else's stuff up there. I'm just a dummy. But you know, look, and the reason why also it was not just because of the religious. It's because my family, like culturally, I think I told you this story. We had to in this country when they passed prohibition. My family sold booze. This is the old German Jewish part of my family that came here, snuck in with a lot of the Catholics actually who came to Cincinnati in the 1850s and 60s. So they're the part, they didn't come turn of the century. They've been here the longest of any part of my family. And they sold booze and it was prohibition. And as we may know from certain other things, civil rights. Alabama doesn't care when the federal government says something, and it was a lot harder to enforce it back then. Communications weren't as good, transportation wasn't as good. So on booze, when they banned it, Alabama was like, yeah, whatever.
So when your family became rum runners, it was advantageous for them to move to a state where they didn't really lock up the rum runners. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. There you go. So they moved to Columbus, Georgia, which is right across the bridge. Across a bridge, you're in Alabama, and that's where they set up their liquor store. Now, being Jews in that area in the late 19 teens was not a popular thing. So they tried to fit into the community, and part of that was they had a Christmas party and all the other stuff. And so I was brought up with my family having a Christmas party and with having Easter, you know, and all that stuff. And so for me, that was just
they were just kind of Jewish, not really Jewish, just Jewish.
Yes. So I felt fake. So I often felt fake in claiming Judaism because I don't like claiming I'm things that I don't feel like I am. But enough time has gone by, and I know that in the end, it doesn't matter. Hitler would have considered me a Jew. I am from a Jewish background, so I am Jewish, and I am
certainly the Nazis today consider you a Jew too.
Correct. So I am able to speak as far as I'm concerned, on this stuff because it does have a special place inside of me because I lost some relatives there. And I went to Terezin, the workers' camp. It was a workers' camp. They did event. It wasn't a labor camp, forced labor. It wasn't Auschwitz, but it was north of Prague. But they did murder anybody who was left there, any Jews who were left there when the Russians came in. And a lot of folks died along the way. And they had this just heartbreaking museum of children's poetry and art who had been in there, and it all passed. Okay. I did work for the Holocaust and Humanities Center here, did PR in Washington, D.C., but back in Europe, went to Anne Frank's house, went to the Berlin ghetto that my family had left in the 1850s and 60s, the Jewish ghetto there to come here, all that kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, I can't say it doesn't hit me personally when I see Elon Musk do that in my country, not the country that son of a bitch was born in, the one that wants to get rid of birthright, citizenship, and all the other things for other people, and who, it seems, allegedly worked here illegally, who came from his little Nazi South Africa. My family was born here into the country that he's trying to destroy, and he's attacking my family, and I take that fucking personally. So,
well, let me get your opinion, because I noticed that the ADL was a little limp-wristed, if I may say that, with this Nazi salute thing. They were like, "Oh, it's just it's just a miss." I don't remember what they call it. It was like a something gesture. It really wasn't a Nazi. He didn't know what he was doing, basically, is what they're saying, which he knew exactly what he was doing. Regardless if he believes in the tenements of fascism or not, he clearly was sending a signal to people. By putting his open hand on his heart and then raising his fingers into the air with the straight arm.
Right. And I gave three choices, in the beginning when I did, before you got here, when I did the monologue, but all of them involved him knowing what it was. And none of them absolved him. One of them was he's trying to trigger the libs, which just shows what an utter scumbag he is, just by doing the salute of people that killed 11 million people in gas chambers and God knows how many millions more in war. Sure. Yeah, that's great. And destroyed countries and whatever. The second option is that that with his uncle's sense of humor, he thought it was funny. Well, I don't care. I'm not letting him off the hook on that either. If you don't understand humor, if your humor sucks as badly as his does, and we know it does because we saw it on Twitter and it was painful, then don't make jokes. If you can't find the difference between something that is going to be at least somewhat funny and not ridiculous, then don't do it. And the third one, of course, is that he knew exactly what he was doing. He did it on purpose. And you came in towards the end there when I was giving the examples. I mean, look, if this was somebody we had no context on, it'd be one thing. He's somebody who spends all his time, on race-based attacks on DEI. He's somebody who supports the ADF, which is literally maybe the first party since World War II in Germany to actually embrace their Nazi roots. And he endorsed them in the newspaper, and the newspaper that printed it led their editor to quit in protest. You can't usually do that stuff in Germany. You get too close to being actual Nazis, they ban you. They don't allow it. And these guys are right on the edge. He's done the same thing in the United Kingdom. He's supporting a guy who's a criminal rapist, I believe he is, who's on the far right fringe of British politics. He supports Le Pen in France. He's built a relationship with, I forgot to mention, Meloni, who's the current Italian prime minister, who, is not a fascist in the way that she has said her party believes in democracy. And so they will respect votes, and they've shown that so far, at least.
So Mussolini light.
But all of their positions are to the far right. I mean, they're anti-gay rights, they're anti-choice, and these are the people he's endorsing and supporting. Oh, and Poilievre, however you pronounce his dumbass name, the one who's Putin supported in Canada. I mean, he is trying to destroy NATO in service of the next Hitler. And I'm sorry, I feel very comfortable saying that in Vladimir Putin. That is what he's doing. And so he is a Nazi. If it walks like a Nazi and talks like a Nazi, it tweets like a Nazi, it endorses parties like a Nazi. If it grew up, hold on, last one, in a country full of Nazis, it's a Nazi.
Well, I actually think your three reasons are spot on, and but there's a fourth one. I think it's all three of those things, because that's one thing that a good troll knows. Is a good troll is not coupled to their conscience by any means,
right?
But literally, I believe he cooked this up to do this, so that way he could do all those things all at once. Because it's the same reason why Donald Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible, right? But
because he thought it might catch on fire.
Well, it could be, but here's the thing: is that and Melania was holding it too, so he might have thought she was trying to poison him or something. But here's the thing: is that I think the main root of this, having those two gestures that are to own the libs and cause confusion, Elon Musk won the attention at Donald Trump's inauguration, and I think that probably is probably the best wedge that we can drive down into this. Is that Elon Musk stole away all the attention from the attention whore that is Donald Trump.
And that's actually an outstanding point.
Yes.
And we just should, again, so yes, and this is one, again, you try to control yourself. This is one that's hard for me not to take personally and get angry about, but channel that into, if you're me and the rest of you, pointing out, wow, I mean, Elon Musk with his crazy, Nazi salute, I guess he kind of stole the show. Where was Donald? Do everything you can. Do that on Twitter. Do it. Can you may know by this. You probably know this better than me, Tony, because you're smart about this stuff. Can I get, if I need to, a Truth Social account?
Yeah, you can get a Truth
I may go there
account
and just open one just to keep make up stuff.
Jack with them, jack with the mag over there. Well, and I think Truth Social is probably gone now that Trump has meme coin. And I think that's actually what Elon was trying to do too, was trying to onload a lot of those users onto his platform. And he knew that if Trump and him were frenemies, but enemies more than frenemies,
right?
Then he wouldn't be able to make sure that his cult crowd was on his social media platform, because Trump is not going to give a damn about Truth Social at this point. The DJT stock is done, and the reason why is because Trump coin is where Trump's going to continue to be what he's always wanted to be, which is ultra rich, because that's really the two things that Donald Trump needs out of this presidency, is to not go to prison and to become ultra rich, which is the thing he's always wanted. He's always wanted to be a part of the billionaire class. They've always boxed him out. They've always considered him a clown, and they never wanted him in. The NFL wouldn't let him buy a team. I mean, this kind of stuff.
He was in Queens, kind of looking over
Manhattan,
where the developers were. Like to him, he and his family were always trash. They were always racist. His dad, who wouldn't let black folks live in their developments, and he carried that out for him from the very beginning. They just were always trashy, obnoxious, and his dad, of course, they all came from Germany. Sorry, German friends who are good now, but they were fascists back then. I think his dad was who was in the Klan, or his his grandfather, whatever. They just all were, the fruit of the poison tree. They are who they are.
And in Trump's case, the apple is the tree. It doesn't fall from the tree. It is the tree in Trump's case. And if we focus on that, right? Because ultimately Donald Trump, the reason why he's letting Elon Musk have part of his presidency, which Elon Musk has bought his presidency. The reason why is because ultimately Donald Trump really wants to be Elon Musk. He always has been. Donald Trump has been desired to be the richest man in the world and to be known as the most rich and powerful man in the world his entire life. That's always what he wanted. That's what this is all about. It's never about anything. It's not about principles. It's not about ideology. It's not about politics. It's only about his own ego. That's it. Period.
That's it.
So well, hey man, I gotta head out.
And we have Rich here. I can't see him, so I'm gonna try to let him in.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to unmute his mic and it's not working. So that's not good.
Well, Rich is if Rich turns his camera and his mic settings, he'll be able to hit the mute button and the add camera.
I'm trying to add you. I would say for something's working, something's not right, because if you can hear me, because I cannot turn on your microphone.
There he is.
Oh, there you are.
Now your mic's on. Hi guys, I was getting kicked out of StreamYard for some reason.
Oh, it's that deep state, the derp state, where the
Turd Reich. Musk. It was
the
Elon
Turd
Musk.
Reich
if you didn't repeat his Nazi salute, he didn't want you in here.
I'm in my second. I'm in my second office, the vehicle. I know you guys can relate to that.
Oh, I do a lot of videos from my second office too. Cliff, I gotta head out, and it's nice to meet you. And audience, stay vigilant. Tomorrow's the second wake up of the Turd Reich. So we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, take it easy, buddy. All right. So listen, folks, I thought this would be a fascinating interview. Tell me if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. Rich Logis.
Yes, perfect. Right?
And Rich, you're going to have to give more of your background, but Rich was a MAGA guy. And I think we need more of this because need to have more of these conversations with folks who've seen the light and come away and said, oh my God, I made a mistake. And I saw Rich wrote on Twitter, had a thread that I found really fascinating. He started an organization called Leaving MAGA. So he didn't just leave MAGA, he is trying to convince others to do the same. And I kind of think that is a great thing to do. And I've told you all before, we don't have to all agree on everything 100%. That's just the way this stuff goes. I don't agree with everybody who are Democrats 100%, and sometimes not even 75. So what I want is I want a coalition big enough to defeat the what I would call the MAGA fascist movement that Donald Trump has created, and that will probably continue after Donald Trump. So welcome, Rich, and thank you. Car, railroad, airplane, we'll kind of take you from wherever you are. We're not picky around here. I'm just glad to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me come in. And I want to use a word that I describe MAGA with all the time, which is community. And I think that intuitively was what originally was one of the attractions for me when Trump came on the scene in 15 and 16. Before then, I was very political, but I was very cynical.
Yeah. Oh, no. I sense this could be an ongoing issue. I'm going to hope not. All right. We lost Rich. MAGA is a cult, Francie. What I'll do is I'll talk to you guys in between. And hopefully we'll get Rich to keep coming back in, and we'll see if we can, we tie it all together, and we'll get ourselves enough. Oh, there he's back.
All right, now I'm here again. I keep getting kicked out.
I know. I'm hoping, we'll do our best to make this work as best we can. And it doesn't have to even be that long of an interview. So just in case you're kicked out again, I'm going to speed it up a bit. Start talking again. So you found community, you were cynical, which I fully get because I'm cynical of lots of things, even with my party. So, yep. So what happened?
When I figured out that Trump was disliked and viewed as a threat by both parties, this iconoclastic outsider, that was my entree into MAGA. And yeah. I didn't just support him as a partisan and then come back in 4 years after the election. I was a volunteer. I was an activist. I wrote part of the call script. After the victory in 16, I became a pundit, a MAGA pundit. I had bylines in Fox and the Federalist. Lots of really far
Can you tell us, by the way, who funds the Federalist, or do you not know either?
It's their actual namesake society, no?
It's always a big joke that the Federalist will not. I mean, maybe the Federalist Society does partially because Leonard Leo has a lot of money, but they never say out loud who funds them. They never tell people. So it's become a little thing on the left where we always annoy them and harass them about who funds them. But go ahead. Yeah, listen, those are legit bylines if you're on the right. So yeah, you wrote for real places. Yeah.
I wrote for WND, World Net Daily, whose founder, Joseph Farah, was the one who originated the Obama birther conspiracy.
That wonderful guy whose daughter, Alyssa, worked for Trump and became a never Trumper. Interestingly enough. Okay.
So I was completely all in. There was no one who probably was more passionate about MAGA than I was. Maybe there were many who was as passionate, but it was my life. It was my 24/7. It was not forget about taking a day off. I never took an hour off. And as
now, do you think that was your need for community that was driving that, or something else?
Yes, I think that it was a large part community, Cliff, but it was also this desire that I had as a politically cynical person of smashing the system.
Yep.
Trump
I mean, it was a powerful message, Trump's message, what he was saying, because, yeah.
And I think that it was also, looking back on it, I don't say it as a self-defense, but this desire to tear down the political order and build it anew, that was a non-controversial anodyne reason I think many had for supporting Trump. And yes, there were the statements about McCain and women and Muslims, but I believe the alternative was infinitely worse. And because I
Okay.
believe that Hillary and the
We're not going to
Democrats were
litigate
influencing
yeah, I want to know what got you there. We don't have to litigate, you know. You don't have to defend yourself and any of that. Like, you saw the two things. I know the outsider message was appealing to a lot of people.
yes.
We had a lot of positives in our society, but again, we have huge income inequality. There are many things that aren't working for people. A lot of people don't know that a lot of the billionaire class in the Republican Party is responsible for that. And if you don't know that, and you know, then you may just hate both parties. And this outsider comes and says, "I'm going to help you." Listen, I didn't do it, but I get it. So go for it.
Sure. Yeah, and I throughout the course of my time in MAGA, there were moments that I censured Trump privately. Charlottesville was one, COVID was one, but publicly we never criticized, because if you did it, it was essentially a MAGA auto de fe. It was you'd be exiled as a heretic and an apostate. Now I know that for some hearing that, they're going to say that sounds like a cult, and I want to just give some nuance to that, because I do concur that there were parts of my life that were cult-like. If this is
Okay.
something that I was doing every day by the hour, never taking an hour off, yes, there's something that is cult-like. But I want to caution against referring to Trump MAGA voters as cultists, because as part of Leaving MAGA's work, our organization, we want to extract people to leave. We want to empower them. And referring to them as cultists, it's just going to strengthen that already strong bond that they
Right.
have with Trump already. And we don't want to give them reasons to stay, because there's going to be a lot of MAGA Americans, Cliff, who are going to be very, very disappointed and dejected when they start to realize that all of the problems Trump said he's going to fix, there's not going to be any fixing.
Now I'm waiting for the weekly infrastructure weeks and how he's going to has concepts of a plan to replace Obamacare. I'm excited about that.
Well, I said to someone yesterday, whom I know is a Trump voter, but we get along, and he's a good guy, because most MAGA Americans are good people deep down. I do believe that. But he started talking about President Biden yesterday, and I said, whoa, 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 hold on a second. President Biden is not the president anymore. He's not there anymore. Now it's Donald Trump. So when are my eggs going to be cheaper? And when's my insurance going to be cheaper? And when is my wife going to get a pay raise? And when this and when that?
Yeah,
I
hit him
said,
with all that
I
now.
when's that going to happen? And forget about everybody else, right? Because that this was an election about the misunderstanding of capitalism. I'm going to die on that hill, that I believe more, in addition to mis and disinformation, as
Yeah.
primary a reason as any for Donald Trump winning was Americans' misunderstanding of the actual model and system of commerce and government we live in. And the
Oh,
reason that and it's not because of people being stupid or lacking good character, it just goes to show that for many Americans, they don't comprehend what it is type of system of economics and capitalism we live in, and what has been
but we
instilled
don't
in
educate
people.
people about
We
finance and
don't.
about
We
yeah.
don't. You know, it's instilled in Americans that they have a right to financially prosper and have a right to do better year after year. And I can look, I'm not downplaying that people have economic anxieties. Most Americans will for the duration of their lives. And
Yeah.
yes, it's true that there are Americans who maybe aren't doing as well today as 4 years ago, but you know what? There are millions who were doing a lot better now than they
Yeah.
were. And that's called capitalism. That's called unequal outcomes, which champions of capitalism tout all the time. Sorry to go on that soapbox, but
No,
that's
it's not a soapbox though, and we actually were outperforming a lot of, I think most of the Western European countries in terms of how we were doing, and I think our inflation wasn't quite as bad. But still, Western nations post COVID, post all that stuff, we were, you know, countries were kicking out incumbents, and it was a tough. It was, you know, it was always going to be tough to stay in for that reason.
and I never, Cliff, took the time to really understand all this. And in my time in MAGA, the only media and information I consumed was the type of media I was writing for. You know, even if Fox News, we looked at Fox News as squishy Vici type media. It was it was better than it's better than MSNBC, but it's Fox News. It's not great. For me, it was the Breitbarts, the Federalists, the American Thinkers, American Greatness. These are places I was writing for. Yeah, I had a byline in Fox, and I watched Tucker Carlson. I thought he was great back in the day, but I never really informed and educated myself. When I started to have doubts about my support for Trump and MAGA and my governor, Ron DeSantis, that's when I started to diversify my news and information sources. And my
Well, that's good.
epiphany
I think
from,
somebody had asked in our chat, and I missed it earlier, what your thoughts were on DeSantis. So it's good to hear because, he tries his best. He started using Gulf of America even before Trump brought it up in the State of the Union yesterday. So he's trying to ape Trump in every way possible. It's sort of pathetic, but go ahead.
I try to not, I don't want to, and I'm not saying you're doing this, I don't want to dehumanize anyone, but to me, Ron DeSantis is the political equivalent of Jake LaMotta playing to the same 10 people in the cabaret every night, and all 10 people tell him how wonderful he is and how great he is, while the rest of the outside world just has no interest. So Ron
Anytime you can
DeSantis
make a
does,
Raging Bull reference, you've got me. So good. Well done.
and let's just say an iconic intro and ending for Raging
Yes.
Bull, if I could just mention Scorsese's best film. Anyone who says Goodfellas, respectfully, I'm going to disagree. It's Raging Bull. Soapbox over on film. I got a lot to say about that one. I
I may
started
think
to
it's
have
one or others, not either of them, but we'll talk about that another time. Go
yeah,
ahead.
that's a different one. We're going to come on. We're going to butt heads on that. No, I love all of them. Or I should
Yep.
say, I love both of them. I started to have my doubts when Trump started talking more and more and more about the stolen election. I knew that he was mismanaging COVID. My epiphany to leaving MAGA happened gradually and then suddenly all at once, because we had the election lies. I knew he was lying. I knew we lost. I knew that he mismanaged COVID. I never said anything publicly about it, but privately I
Right.
did. And then it was Ron DeSantis in the summer of 21 inviting anti-vaxxers to his press conferences, not people with a DeSantis sign out in the middle of nowhere saying that, no, at his press conferences,
Right.
anti-vaxxers. DeSantis starts talking about Fauciism. I thought Ron DeSantis, for the first year and a half of the pandemic, in fairness, he sounded reasonable a lot of the time. I thought
He
that
was, I mean, I may have disagreed with him, but he was much more reasonable in the beginning, the party overall, before it
absolutely.
became official to embrace attacking vaxes. Like whole bunch of people did. One of the most reasonable governors in the country was the one here, Mike DeWine, who I think people would argue did a pretty good job in the beginning. But then it became, you know, from down on high that you had to turn against it, and that was it.
Yes, and DeWine tracked just like DeSantis, because as soon as DeSantis had the anti-vaxxers at his pressers, it was a shock to me. I was confused. I did not understand why it was happening. That's what prompted me to diversify my news and information sources. And once I started to do that, I started to realize that pretty much everything that I had believed was not true. The Democrats weren't coming to disarm us. They weren't importing brown people to seize permanent power. Our kids weren't being indoctrinated in the public schools to become transgender Marxists. I didn't realize this instantaneously, but as I started to delve deeper, I started to understand better January 6th.
Yeah.
The
And can I
Republican,
say,
sure.
there was a question I wanted to ask you along those lines. Crap, I can't think. Go ahead. We'll get back to it.
Remember also, Cliff, in early February of 22, the Republican Party calls January 6th legitimate political discourse. That was their wording. So
They
I'm
called it
going through
a
this.
tour too. The ones who
Yeah,
called it a
tour.
nice, that just pissed me off something fierce.
I didn't support January 6th, what happened, but what made me upset about that day was that I believed that all the rioters were harming our chances for a comeback. I wasn't at the time, I wasn't upset that police officers were being attacked and that people were going to be injured, probably die. No, no, no. I had a political calculation. I was thinking about trying to lick our wounds and then rebuild for a 2024 comeback. That was what went through my mind at
Yeah.
the time.
That's
You
when you got
talk
to
about
question yourself. If I'm
dehumanizing.
going to be honest, that's when morally, and I'm not, I told you I wouldn't get on a high horse during this interview because I've done enough bad things in my life. We all have. But yeah, I think that those moments are when we all need to question ourselves when we're thinking about things in that, you know what I mean? In that way. Um, and maybe that did lead you to question yourself. I don't know.
Well, I can't think of anything more dehumanizing than overlooking the loss of life and trauma and injury because it didn't suit what I wanted to be my political outcome potentially.
Yeah.
And for me, the final straw, as I'm going through this year of personal tumult, struggling with this recognition that I supported MAGA when I should not have, it was the Uvalde, Texas school shooting. And that was in May of 22. And
Yep.
after that happened, I quietly left MAGA. I didn't tell anyone except my wife and a few others. But Cliff, I'm telling you that when I did that, it's a little difficult for me to explain it because it's more experiential than explicable, but something was nagging at me. This voice, this conscience, the alarms would sound saying, you can't do it quietly. You have to go public. And I was very unapologetically public in my support for
Well, good
Trump,
for you. I mean, that takes a lot of
and I had to
courage.
reciprocate it. I had to do it. And on August 30th, 2022, I published a mea culpa in which I said, yes, I supported Trump and DeSantis and MAGA for what I thought were the right reasons, but I was wrong. And I need to admit my error. I need to acknowledge the wrong of my ways and say that I am sorry. And when I published it, the God's honest truth, Cliff, is I never believed that anybody would care. I really
Now, can
didn't.
I
And
ask you
it's
this?
sure.
Where did you publish that?
So that was published at a site called Occupy Democrats.
Yeah, I know them. Okay.
Not the biggest, not to sound like an ingrate, not the biggest fan. They're really, really hyper partisan left, but they did give me an opportunity to share my story, and I'm thankful for that.
They're
And I
also
can
a little
provide
bit of a
anyone.
engagement farm, if you will. But
Yes, and there was a. I went from thinking no one would give a shit about that apology to instantaneously receiving messages. Rich, can you talk to my mother? Can you talk to my father? Can you talk to my best friend, my maid of honor? Cliff, I was completely naive and oblivious that
yeah.
so many relationships had been torn asunder as a result of Trump and MAGA. And
Oh,
it just continually reinforced and affirmed for me that I had a hand in that.
well,
I had
here's the thing,
culpability.
Rich. It's been a multi-generational thing. Trump's the latest and the loudest and the worst
Yeah.
incarnation.
Yeah.
But there's a woman, and I can't think of her name, and I bet somebody in the chat will know here. Um, who I've talked to before. And I talked to her about having her on, and I haven't we just haven't gotten in contact on it recently. And she did it was a documentary, The Brainwashing of My Father, and it was all about how he started watching Fox and listening to Rush Limbaugh,
Mhm.
and he had been this sort of guy who believed in equality, and he was a quiet sort of JFK kind of Democrat, and he became this angry, screaming, they're taking everything away from us. I mean, so you're not the first, and you're frankly, Trump is not the first to do this. This has been, it's gotten worse because it's gotten more sophisticated, and Trump has a huge microphone. To have the president of the United States doing it obviously is horrendous. But I know as somebody who worked in the movements I worked in, the NRA started doing this 20, 30 years ago in their emails, where they started very much pushing the us against them narrative. And it's something that's happened on the right a lot, which is dehumanizing Democrats to the point of where family members can't coexist. Go ahead. Any
And I
case.
and I'll tell you that for my
Jen
MAGA,
Sanko, there it is. Thank you, Jesse James.
yeah,
Her name is Jen Sanko.
Jen, and she'd be great to have on. In fact,
I, yeah.
I actually just recently asked her. I wrote her a message. She's okay with me saying this because she gave me her consent. I said, Jen, I want to ask you a question about your dad. When he was watching Fox News all of that time, Was there ever a moment where he thought, oh, come on, that can't be true? Just a singular moment. I'm not talking about multiple.
Yeah.
And she wrote to me and said, no, he believed everything. And the reason I wanted to ask her that, and this is important, I think, for those watching, we cannot underestimate that all of us are susceptible to being influenced. Right, to your
Yes.
point on this, and again, it's not as if I don't defend ignorance, but all of us are vulnerable to being inculcated into this MAGA right-wing world because it's predatory. It exploits and manipulates so many of our natural fears and concerns about our future, about survivalism, the economic stress that we mentioned
Yeah.
earlier. That's what MAGA does, and as the winner, remember, we're the winning side post 2016, between 2016 and 20.
Right.
As the winner, I lived a life in states of perpetual panic and despair and desperation and nihilism and hopelessness as the winning side, because I was
Yeah.
in this political bout. If I had met you, Cliff, or I knew, even if I'd known about you, forget about knowing it, I don't know anything about you except your name and your work, I would have considered you an existential threat and enemy to myself and our country. I would have viewed you as a
It's
traitor. That's
possible
how I
you would have
look
been
at
right. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
it's like, oh, Rich, the cover's blown. No,
I know.
and I'm saying that, Cliff, to you because I want to give a prorated apology that I would have said that about you. I said that about
That's
people I
okay, man.
cared about. That's what I said.
No, come back. We'll get him back. What I'd say is I see somebody in the chat there, Mr. Stern or 2Dude, saying I'm not susceptible. I think I don't agree with his point that we're all susceptible to MAGA, but I do think we are all susceptible to certain levels of becoming parts of groups and being convinced that that group has the only answer. And I was on a listserv at one point. I'm going to add you back to the stage, Rich, but I'm just making
I'm
a
back.
point. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm making a point based on the point you made, which is what somebody said in the comments here, which is we may not necessarily all be susceptible specifically to MAGA. What I'm saying is we all are susceptible to something of that nature, whether it be on the
Sure.
political on the right or the left. I mean, listen, there are some people who get anything that's competitive. It's in our DNA. It's in our evolution. There's some people that get so crazy about their sports team with the face paint and the whatever that they can't live a normal life. Like they have to be at every game. They don't spend time with their kids. There are when you become part of a certain community is fantastic. But when you become part of a community and that's all you know, and those are the only people you talk to, because I was saying I was on a listserv that I think went ultra left around 2007, 2008. And people were saying things on this list like, that were so far to the left, attacking Obama a lot. And I started believing some of it. And then I'd come out and talk to what I would say were more normal Democrats, my wife, my parents, my family, and they'd be like, what the hell's wrong with you? And for a small moment, I went in that direction, and I feel like I came back to a reality from that. And so I think my point is that if you shut yourself off on purpose or not, and you're getting most of your information and most of the people you're socializing with are all of the same belief and say the same things and whatever, I think we all are susceptible to varying levels of cult-like behavior, be it political or many other things. Obviously, most cults aren't about politics. You may believe that aliens are like those guys out in San Diego are going to bring you up to their ship and you commit, sadly, mass suicide, or Jim Jones, or there's many different ways that this is done. So I think that's an important point. But continue, please.
Well, I think that there is a challenge in making democracy a community. And and I don't proclaim to think I know the answer to that. We created Leaving MAGA as a community for people who leave, or people who maybe have some doubts about their support. They're starting to question their beliefs. And we also invite friends and family of those who are still in the thrall of MAGA to offer testimonials, because for those in MAGA who
that's smart,
are going to
it's
get
like an intervention.
Yeah, and thank you. And I can't take credit for having thought about this. I could bullshit everyone and say I had a 2-year game plan. It was no. This is completely unlikely and accidental that I just happened to think about this in such a way where I held up a mirror, but the mirror was replicate the community, but not the ethos. People who come to Leaving MAGA, they're reclaiming their individuality, because one of the mythologies of the MAGA community is rugged individualism. And I will tell you that that's non-existent. MAGA is wholly conform.
No, this is gonna. Oh, we got you back quickly this time. Awesome.
MAGA is not. It is a wholly conformist community, and that's why any information that even remotely challenged the pervasively held beliefs in the community, it was shunned. It was kept out.
Of course, yeah.
Well,
and that's how these. Yeah, go ahead.
And just like you're saying, when you're around like-minded people and talking to them and online with them and in person. I spoke at Trump groups. I was a sponsor at events. Every single month I knew professional, successful, educated people who ran Trump groups. So it wasn't this, uneducated, uncouth. That was actually not my experience. I was around Ivy League graduates, for God's sakes, at MAGA events. So I found my
Well, let me tell you.
validation.
Let me tell you, as an Ivy League graduate, the people who I know who graduated from my school right now are like some of the worst people in the world. So, having graduated from Penn, its graduates include the Trump family, Elon Musk. Who else? Who else? Like Frank
Musk
Luntz,
was
Cenk Uygur. I'm not proud of it. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Musk was a grad from UPenn also?
Musk was actually there when I was there. I think he was a year or two behind me. I didn't know him because he was not somebody who you knew because he didn't have a famous name at that time or whatever. But yeah, he was there when I was there.
I think Musk and Trump are much more similar than dissimilar. I know that was talked about before I
think they're almost the same person in a lot of ways. There's so many similarities, and I joke around that I can only imagine the extra PR help and whatever, and the extra help for reaching out to donors, whatever, that Penn has hired to have to apologize for two of the craziest people in America having gone to my university and people not wanting anything to do with it anymore, probably. Go ahead. Sorry.
And Elon Musk found his political community,
right,
with MAGA.
But let's I don't want to cut you off, but I also want to add something else. Let's never make the mistake of these guys are like, every MAGA person, well, you must be a high school dropout. DeSantis went to Yale. Ted Cruz went to Harvard, Princeton and Harvard for law school. What's his face? That jerk in Missouri, Josh Hawley, went to Yale. Clarence Thomas went to Yale. I mean, we can go on. There are plenty of awful people that went to the elite universities. So it doesn't mean you're not going to become MAGA or something worse.
And isn't it quite ironic that so many of the attacks against education come from Ivy League educated Republicans?
Right. They're hypocrites.
That was something else I figured out as I was going through my odyssey of leaving MAGA. I remember all of the attacks on education and thinking Ron DeSantis is a Harvard Law graduate.
Right.
These guys, Tom Cotton is a Harvard Law graduate. Kayleigh McEnany, the former the press secretary, is a Harvard graduate, right? So so you hear all of this, and then the challenge becomes how to get people in MAGA to see it. And I want to try to give a little bit of a hopeful statement here. I think many in MAGA do see this. I think that for many in MAGA, if we're looking at the January 6th pardons, for some of them, something inside of them deep down tells them that this is wrong. But the challenge is how to get them to acknowledge that error, so those errors, so it gets them to a point of them saying, you know what, I can't support this any longer, because no one wants to admit they're wrong. It's a very unnatural act for us to apologize, especially publicly, and admit that we're mistaken. And that was hard for me because I had to walk away from a community. I also had to come to this painful realization that pretty much everything I believed was false. So I made a grave mistake supporting MAGA, and I could no longer defend the indefensible and justify the unjustifiable. And I think that there are people in MAGA, Cliff, who are going to start to realize that. But we need to give them an exit ramp. We need to give them a new place to go, because without a new place, even if they know they should leave, they're probably not going to. And that's really what Leaving MAGA was created for.
There we go. Now I'm back. I've had an issue because my computer is dying and I only have 2 ports to plug into here. So I'm going to play a little game of whenever I'm not talking and you're talking, I'm going to plug my computer and unplug my microphone. This should be fun. So you started questioning all this 2020, 21, you said before, and that's when you decided like enough.
It took me a year. It took me a year though to finally say I was out, because when I was fully invested in every imaginable way a human being can be invested in that community, not just financially. Financially was the lower end of the of the rung on this. It was emotionally, politically, even though I'm not a religious person, there was a spiritual aspect to it. I was part of a team saving American democracy. I was a political soldier in this existential war against political enemies. And those enemies were not just Democrats and liberals and progressives. Anyone who was not with us was 100% against us. So if somebody's 99.9% with us, Cliff and MAGA, they're 0% with us. So a Liz Cheney and an Adam Kinzinger, whom I've gotten to know over the last many months, I apologized to him as well when I spoke to him. I said, Adam, we thought worse of you than we did most Democrats. We looked at you as an actual traitor. We expected Nancy Pelosi to oppose us, but the fact that you and Liz Cheney and other Republicans opposed us, you guys are you're the ones who are the quislings here. You're the ones whom we reserve particular ire for, given that you're Republicans and conservatives.
Yeah. Can you hear me, by the way, right now?
Yeah, you're clear. I can hear you.
Yeah, the sound will be a little worse because it's through my earbuds, but I need to plug in for a bit here. And I want, this part of the show, you're doing most of the talking, so I figure this is the time. Okay, so you realize all that, and that's, not unusual. I don't know if you ever read a great book that I think describes our age by a historian, Richard Hofstadter, The Paranoid Style in American Politics. I actually have it up on my shelf here, because I think it so informs the age we are in. He was a great historian and very smart and he had a whole passage in there about how to people who had betrayed a movement, they were hated much more than even the people that were on the other side. I mean, that's part of that paranoid style, is that when someone is turned against you, they're worse than Satan. So I'm not surprised with Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and others eventually. And sadly now have you had anybody threaten you? Have you had to worry about your physical safety or that of your family at all, your wife or anything like that?
Thankfully, that has not happened, but I and our organization, we've been the recipient of not just juvenile insults and not just, oh, you were really never MAGA, you're just a grifter, etc. All this imaginary money that I've apparently made somewhere. It's out there. Hopefully I'll come into it one day.
Dude, can you share some of that with me?
I was gonna say, if you find it, finder's fee. If you find it anywhere,
I got to make this show profitable first, but then I'll see about
somewhere out there. Apparently, there's a pot of gold waiting for us. I wish that I hope it's not fool's gold when we find it. So I get those,
dude,
but
it's crypto, man. We got to go. I'm just kidding.
Leaving MAGA meme, leaving MAGA meme coin.
Oh, God.
Cliff's Edge meme coin.
Yeah, Cliff's Edge meme. It's so repulsive, all of that stuff.
Well,
and also Trump created a cologne. We could create a cologne too. Did you ever see the ad for that? Trump cologne.
I definitely won't be wearing that.
No. I'm actually kind of like I've meant to do something with it. I have like a little video, and I'm like, I gotta at some point do something with it. So I will make a funny kind of, this is Trump cologne, and we all know what Trump really smells like. But I digress. So you haven't had threats against you. That's actually good
No
to hear.
threats. I'll
Good.
tell you though that there are some what I consider reprehensible comments I received that are very they predominantly are homophobic, and
Yeah, of course. Of course,
it's
they
it's
always go at that because they think that's going to hurt you. When they come at me like that and insult me like that, I just tend to sort of say, "Yeah, I'm happy. I'm gay. I love, I don't understand your point. I love men. They're great." I think the best way to always with them is just to sort of agree with them because they don't know what to do then. They think that they're hurting you by saying that. They're
and
pathetic.
I see it, and it's mostly male driven,
Yes.
and someone said something to me today that I hadn't thought about it this way, but someone said to me today, said, Rich, you have a very respectful way of making people in MAGA feel a little uncomfortable about themselves. And I said to this person, I said, wow, that can you be my publicist? Like
I
that
know.
was the way that they put that. I thought I had not really thought of it that way, but this
But
person
you
was
do, Rich. You
correct.
come off like I have to say this. Even if I cut you off, you come off like a really nice, normal, respectable, like well-educated guy. I mean, I wouldn't have known what your background had been in MAGA, or that you had been angry, as you had said, or any of this stuff. So, in a way, I think that made what I found so interesting about having you on is that once I read and I wanted to talk to you on the phone, just to make sure, because today's today and people can fake stuff, but
Sure.
also I wanted to make sure that you're somebody. And I saw that you'd done a podcast, so I assumed that you were comfortable going on video, but I wanted to make sure because some people are not. And, but you come off like a regular guy, a likable guy. You're friendly. You're not combative, even though you and I'm sure disagree on some things. You've probably heard me say some things you disagree with. So I don't know why that wouldn't apply to MAGA too. I mean, I guess
Right.
there are some that are irrationally angry, but as I say to people all the time, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but comes from studying. I have a history background. I did everything but write a dissertation, so I don't have a PhD. I came up short, but I studied history, American history for years, and and you sort of end up sort of seeing this. Um, these kinds of things again and again and again with these movements, right? Like nothing is new, nothing is for the first time. You see people that um well, they're members of some group, and they kind of got they got what they needed. They were convinced by other people to leave. They were convinced that there was something better on the other side. I don't see any reason why you couldn't be part of doing the same thing. There's like a hard. I guess this is how I'll put it. I'm going to summarize it. The way looking at democratic societies, and we have more disinformation allowed here than most. They
Yes.
ban Nazi symbols in Germany. They don't allow terrorist groups they consider to protest in France. Like there's more limits, and I think they're the right limits on speech. I think we need. I think we take it too far when we say disinformation is equal to information. It's not, and
No,
you
it's
need
not.
information to be a successful democracy. But I do think that you're probably going to have 30 to 35% who could go for any fascist movement at any time in a democracy. And I don't expect that we can change the minds of that core. But people forget there's another 12, 15, 16, whatever percent are people that may be semi MAGA or, leaning
Right.
MAGA, and those are people that can be reached. And that's where someone like you is so important as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because what I hope that people will take away from my story is that while it was one of the most difficult decisions I had to make, I emancipated myself from a movement that did traumatize me. And I'm not trying to say that in a way to elicit sympathy or pity, but
Yeah.
I want to show that this story of mine, people can change their minds. You say history. I would, as someone who studied English in college, but has tried to familiarize myself with American history in particular, our progress in our nation has come from people changing their minds at any epoch in the history of our country. You know, people
You're
who were
right.
some abolitionists supported slavery at one time. Some who opposed the right to the franchise for women supported women's suffrage. People who were opposed to civil and voting rights in the 60s, and perhaps earlier than that,
I mean,
some came
LBJ
around.
originally was a
LBJ,
segregationist
you know,
originally.
there
I
was
mean,
a
and look at, so that's an example. You're exactly right.
You know, there was actually, when the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Acts were passed, it's actually reversed. It was civil then voting, 64,
Yes.
65. There was a higher number percentage-wise of Republicans in Congress
Yep.
than Dems who supported those two laws.
Right.
So you ask, like, well, what exactly? So history changing our minds is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of evolution, of maturation. It's how we've moved forward in our country. And you're right about with MAGA, it's not novel. It's just the latest iteration of forces and mythologies that have existed since day one of our country. And I don't
Sure.
proclaim to be an historian, but I have come to learn enough about what it was that I actually aided and abetted, and I could no longer aid and abet what it was that I was doing. So I want people out there to hear this and think, okay, leaving MAGA is a community without judgment. No one will be ostracized. We welcome anybody as long as there's only one non-negotiable mandate. Anyone who's going to join us in our community must take responsibility for past actions and rhetoric. That's
Good for you. I think that's
non-negotiable.
important
Yeah,
because if you don't, yeah,
non-negotiable.
if you can't be honest with yourself and with the group you're joining, then how are you going to be honest with
Agree.
everybody else?
Agree.
Um,
That's the only one we
so
require. You got to take accountability for your past.
So do you have any like events or big kinds of things planned, or is it going to just be kind of a regular? I mean, or both, right? I know you post obviously on Twitter. You got your message out there. I'll do what I can to share your
Thank
site
you.
everywhere that of course, what you're doing
Thank you.
is admirable and helpful. Um, but do you have any plans for any kind of, like, I know you've said that you've spoken to Jen Senko, or you've spoken to Adam Kinzinger, or like, is there any plans for any kind of a conference, an event, a something or other? I don't know, whatever it might be.
We are talking about doing an online event, maybe once a month, until we can start doing in-person events, because for those, some of whom have given testimonials with us, they're scattered through across the country.
Right.
And for some, they want to tell their story, and we're very grateful for that. And some have told their stories, but they want to take on a larger leadership role. So we're working on doing in-person events. And as part of in-person events, we've got a workshop we're developing entitled "Where Did You Hear That?" And what that's designed to do is to take a particular topic for that workshop. We're creating a podcast and a video series also, and
Great.
figure out where these mids come from. What is the source? What defines them? What's the proof that they're a lie? And then what the takeaways are. So right now, a lot of it is online. It is social media. For anyone who's watching, if you know anyone who is in MAGA, friends or family, and you feel compelled to tell your story, we want to hear from you. If anyone is out there hearing this and thinking, well, I was in MAGA and I left, please get in touch with us, because we want to hear from you. Even if you decide not to give a testimonial, we still
Yep.
want to hear from you. So we are working on in-person events. We're going to continue to do
Great.
online. I've got some events coming up I'll be speaking at, one of which is next month in DC. It's an organization called Principles First. They've been able to grow pretty quickly in a few years, and Adam Kinzinger is going to be there. Lots of well-known individuals will be there, and
Did he
I
start that one? I feel like is that his, or am I wrong?
uh, so it was founded by a gentleman named Heath Mayo.
Oh,
So
you told me
that's,
this before. I know who
yeah,
Heath Mayo is. Yeah.
that's his organization, but he's done a really great job in building this up to something really formidable. And I was given I was offered very humbly and honorably the chance to speak next month. I'm not sure what it will be on, but I told the team, whatever you need me for, I'm there. Just put me in the game, and I'll contribute however I can.
Well, that's awesome. So we've got one of our great moderators here, Jim, has put, as you can probably see, leaving MAGA and
Yeah, thank you.
the address. Are there any other links you would like us to share, or places where people can follow you or see your work?
Sure. So we have so you can connect actually to our YouTube channel from our site. We have a very small, but it is growing YouTube channel, and we've got several playlists. And one of the playlists we have are videos that I've produced with the Midas Touch Network.
Oh,
So
okay.
we've got them all in a playlist. It'll say "Leaving MAGA Midas Touch." We've done over a dozen videos. These are testimonials. You can get again through there through our site. Be sure to subscribe and make sure to
Yes.
watch all those videos. All of them have a unique individual telling their stories from their unique experiences. I think
Outstanding.
it's a little bit, I would say it's a little bit binge worthy. Once you watch one or two of them, you want to keep watching them, but that's not a credit to me. That's really a testament to all of those who had the courage to come forward and publicly tell their stories.
Well, I'd like to talk to you. We can talk again offline, or it can even be, online, email, whatever. Because again, if I've got my channel, it's not as big as Midas's, but it's got a pretty solid number of subscribers, and I've got plenty of space up on that community wall of mine to put up stuff, and people tend to respond and watch. And honestly, anything I can do to, and I mean it, anything I can do to help. It's the easiest thing in the world. If you just say, "Hey, can you share this video?" and I'll just pop it up there, and maybe get some more views, some more people see it. So, and otherwise, also in terms of your writing, um, I have a growing Substack that I just started literally about a week or two ago. But I used to write for the Daily Beast. I used to write for the Guardian. I mean, writing columns was kind of my, in terms of what I do in politics, was one of my big things. So that stuff comes to me pretty naturally, and it's already growing pretty quickly. I think I've got 5 posts, and I've got about 500 or something subscribers. I expect that to expand pretty quickly. So anything I can do to in any of these places, obviously Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever. I'm not on Twitter as
Thank you.
often as I used to be because I hate Elon Musk, but I am on there. I do go there to share some videos. I'll go there to share this live stream, and and because I do think some stuff needs to show up there against their stupid narrative. And so, if there's ways that I can share your stuff in any number of places, um, let's keep in touch, I guess, is what I'm saying in my own long-winded way.
Yes, and I would like to, and I've got some ideas actually. I'd like to run by you offline to get your input, if I may.
Well, that sounds good. This is I had today. This is honestly, I've joked. This may be breaking a record for me. This is the 4th show that I've done today. I don't know if you know Stephanie Miller. I was on her show. I co-host a podcast with a
Yeah,
guy named Bob Seska. Maybe I can get Bob to have you on. You'd be a great guest on his.
sure.
And then I went to my friend Tony Michaels, who was on in the beginning, and now this. And so today I will probably want to just collapse when I'm done here. But I have a live stream tomorrow. I'm free tomorrow morning, and then Friday is the day I don't live stream. Fridays are always very good for me. So reach out and just we'll either this week, next week, we'll figure something out. But I would love to be helpful in any way in what you're doing, and obviously sharing stuff and whatever. I don't know if I can be helpful any other way because I've said some very not nice things about MAGA, so I don't know that I'm going to attract anybody to our cause. But if I can share your stuff places, well, I'm happy to do it. So
It means a lot, Cliff. Thank you for for your interest and caring about what we are doing. I've got a feeling we're going to be talking a lot more in the near future.
I do too. And he's really honestly, you know, and I can't say, like, we all come into these things with biases, and I've got such strong feelings about MAGA, but talking to you, you're just a great guy, and both times on the phone and now here, genuine, and you seem to really care about mistakes that you believe you've made. And I mean, I'm just not trying to sound like a jerk. I mean, I agree with you, but again, I've made plenty of mistakes, so no judgments. And you're trying to make up for that, and isn't that what we're all trying to do at points in life, which is make up for screw ups, or bad decisions, or you know, and you know, you'll even that ledger. I promise you, with what you're doing, you'll more than even that ledger. And you're exactly the kind of person, I think, who can reach people that I can't, and probably most of the audience can't, and can help us bring back sanity to this country, where, as you said about democracy, as we were talking about earlier, where we are a community, we're all agreeing that we're part of one vast community, and you know, sometimes the good of the community is more important than and all everybody just saying no, whatever I want to do. You know, that's what democracy is about. So I'd
And
love
I
to
and I
see us.
would, Cliff, I would like to welcome you also to our Leaving MAGA community. So thank you for that.
Oh well, I mean, anytime if you think they won't want to punch me there, although it'd be hard through the computer, I am happy to come join and talk and and do anything you want me to do. I'm happy to do it. So
Okay, I appreciate it. I'll be in touch with you very soon.
you take care, and thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Anytime. Thanks, Cliff.
All right, bye,
Bye,
Rich.
everyone.
Awesome. That was great, man. You know, and it's not always what you picture it'll be, but he was awesome. How are you guys hearing me right now? I may try to plug back in. We'll see if this mic works, and we'll see if I've been plugged in here long enough that we can give it a go. What do you think? Oh, people are saying later and leaving. It's not over. You guys just have places you have to go. Can you hear me? Let's see. Can you guys hear me right now? You can hear me. Good. Okay. Some of you guys have stuff you got to do, obviously. I wanted to get right now to what will be our second takedown. Our second. You guys have to help me out. Cliff's note can be something else, or Cliff's. We can call this Cliff's note instead of takedown. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But this is a Cliff's note, and it's a takedown, and it's not going to shock you. Obviously, it's going to be on what Donald Trump did yesterday. The repulsive and sick behavior by Donald Trump yesterday in pardoning all of the members of January 6th, everyone who attacked, beat, punched, kicked, stabbed, gouged, everything. Used the American flag to stab policemen, trap them indoors, and frankly attacked the seat of our capital for the first time since 1812, wiped their feces on the wall. Again, I know Donald Trump's diaper gets overfilled, but did they have to take it that way? Seriously. All 1,500 of them. Could there have been some people there that just kind of went with the group that didn't actually enter the Capitol, that were on the area? They could have said maybe we should make their sentences shorter. Maybe. I wouldn't be inclined to do it. But the violent ones, the ones who attacked people, the ones who stole property, the ones who were putting up nooses. By the way, why have we never, again, Justice Department, Merrick Garland, why have we never found out who put that noose up there for Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi? People that did that kind of stuff should be in prison for the rest of their lives. And Donald Trump, if we had filled in the gaps those 4 years, and we'd had, you know, an active Justice and Homeland Security Department informing Americans that these were domestic terrorists working on behalf of Donald Trump, who had committed sedition, and that you were going to try to prove that in court and not share details, well, then there's no reason these guys couldn't have been communicating all the time. And Democrats never communicate enough. I want to give this from the perspective of people that were there. Officer Fanone, who said he feels like he was betrayed by Trump, personally betrayed. Similar, Harry Dunn, which you've come to know, who said the same thing, but feels he was betrayed by the country, by the United States of America, voting Trump in after what they did to him. You may remember Mitt Romney might not even be alive if it wasn't for Harry Dunn. These guys, you know, from a party, the Republican Party, that claims to be in favor of law and order. Funny that. It claims to, you know, worry about crime when they're all a bunch of criminals, the people that he nominated for his cabinet, he himself, and of course the 1,500 people he pardoned. But again, I'm going to keep repeating it. They're not just criminals. They are domestic terrorists. That was one of the worst days in our country's history. Donald Trump, who also, as you may know, released 5,000, I think it was 5,000 Taliban who had attacked Americans so they could go back to Afghanistan and do the same thing. Was never held accountable for that. Apparently worked so well that time, he decided, hey, I released foreign terrorists, now I'm going to release domestic terrorists here. The precedent it sets is horrific. It just says to any of these folks, you can do whatever you'd like. and you'll never be held accountable because you're white, which of course they largely are. Um, the the fact that he sat there and pardoned them when there are people in prison that we know to be innocent who've been innocent projects across the country. As you know, I worked with the one here in Ohio and ignored them, but released these people. And the reason Donald Trump did it again, because everybody thinks that, that people are like, oh, he's throwing them a bone and whatever. And yeah, right. He wants to maybe think some of the MAGA folks think that he still gives a half a crap about them, but mostly he doesn't care. He spits in their faces and they come back and they drink more. That's how it works. Um, they're just they will take whatever he does. I give you the example of inauguration. Freezing as hell, but no colder than Obama's inauguration in '08 because I was there. That was freezing. Freezing, raining. These people spend thousands of dollars to come in. FAFO. Yeah, I'm sorry. FAFO for you guys. You're learning what your dear leader really thinks of you. And thousands of them. I don't know how many. His crowds are always small, as we know, so probably not as many as he claimed. He decides, maybe he was worried, like when he went to that World War I memorial, I believe it was, that he was going to get rain on his piss cotton candy hair, and then he'd have to re-twirl it or whatever he does. In any case, the weak man couldn't take being outside, or more likely, just didn't want to be around the riffraff or his base. So he went inside and went around his real base, the billionaires. Elon Musk, right, was there, and Jeff Bezos was there hobnobbing around. $1,000 tickets, I believe they were. Yeah, most of those folks who spent all that money to come in, tickets were probably even more than that. All that money on hotels and being there. Trump also could have given them their money back. He could have reimbursed it with all of this money he made off of his crypto scam. Nope, didn't do it. Doesn't care about them. They're out money. They came all the way to DC and they watched from the damn TV like they could have if they were home. But the billionaires inside the rotunda, ooh, he took great care of them. I bet there was champagne glasses clinking as they came up with one scam after another. Because Donald Trump proved right away he's going to ignore the law and no one is going to hold him to account, be it Pam Bondi or anybody else, because he picked people purposely this time for their lack of ethical compass. That's why they're there. It's not just people, there were some actual competent people in the first administration. But again, he released domestic terrorists. He released people that are neo-Nazis. He released oath keepers. He released what was those other stupid group? Proud Boys. These are his foot soldiers. These are trained, some of them in the military, and they are Nazis, and they were outward about it. They had Confederate flags. They had Camp Auschwitz sweatshirts on, and they attacked human beings, even ending up killing a few officers. And the whole number of those officers, was it 150? I don't remember anymore, were in the hospital with broken bones and all sorts of other injuries, missing eyes. It's sick what he did. And it shows exactly who he is. And he did it for a very specific reason. It's not just throwing a bone, because again, he does not give a shit what they think. He did it for two very important reasons. One, he's finally gotten what he wanted. The entire January 6th has been whitewashed. He wants it erased from history. And so he spent 4 years lying about it, retconning it, saying, oh, there were tours being given, and everybody was laughing and having fun. And, in between having fun, you just have a handful of poop that you wipe on the wall, and you steal furniture from Nancy Pelosi's office. And break through windows, what have you. Right. That's what we call a peaceful gathering. I mean, the gaslighting, the just pure lying about what these people were doing there. The national anthem sung by them, which is repulsive. All right, that he joined in. He'd been doing this for 4 years. Our Justice Department and others allowed him to do it because no one else was doing the talking but he and his lying friends. And he had one last thing on the checklist, and that's pardon these motherfuckers. If I just demonetize myself, I don't care. He pardoned them. And in the end, by doing that, by pardoning them, it never happened, because there's not one criminal now, not one, from January 6th. The slate has been wiped clean, and he'll do his best to wipe the history slates clean too. And secondly, he's now got his own little private army, his own militia, especially the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the other of these guys who've broken multiple laws multiple times, have shown a willingness, even an eagerness to use violence when they showed up at any number of events, Black Lives Matter rallies and the rest. And now he's got them. They owe him their freedom. So when the regular folks won't do what Donald Trump wants, he's got people he can call. Who you going to call? A bunch of treasonous a-holes. Not Ghostbusters. I like those guys. And that's where we are. And so Donald Trump yesterday, I believe, committed one of the most treasonous acts in the history of the country. And I didn't think that was possible anymore. He just keeps raising the bar. Republicans attacked him for it too. Senator Tom Tillis said he thought it was a terrible idea. And others, Democrats, of course, across the board said it was sick and it was evil and it was sick and it was evil. And Donald Trump is sick and Donald Trump is evil. And he shouldn't be president of this country, much less president of your local country club. But we're stuck with him for 4 years. So let's do our best to fight the son of a bitch and make him pay for this. And of course, I mean that in a rhetorical way. Let's make him pay for what he just did, for this atrocity. And that has been Cliff's Note or the takedown or both. Yes. So where are we? Oh, we still got a little bit of juice in there. Let's turn up. I actually even turned down the brightness a little bit so it wouldn't go deadly as quickly. We may only do 2 of those today. I don't know. I didn't have a third one lined up like I wanted to, but there's always tomorrow and the next day. What do you all think? Give me your takes. Trump's Taliban. Yeah, that's a great point, Al Yorkie. This is Trump's Taliban. Why don't we also, right now, thank the folks who gave me, were kind enough to give some super chats. And I really appreciate it. So first we've got Mass 1959 with $1.99. Thank you. Very much appreciated. Sheldon Hughes with the usual. It's going to be another great show. Thank you. I hope you think it was. A $2 chat. I really appreciate it. We have ET, who I saw earlier towards the beginning of the show, a $5 super chat. Thank you. Yesterday I did a kazoo serenade of the Imperial March for Mad King Donald. Yeah, the Imperial March is perfect. They should have played that when it came in. The first MKD1 Ascension. I have it posted on Blue Sky. Stay focused. All right, ET. I haven't found you on Blue Sky. I don't know. I'm not there that often. Find me and I'll follow if I'm not following, or some people have different names in different places. But I'd love to see that. Fancy Ryle, I'm going to go with. Member for 3 months. Thank you. Hopefully you're enjoying our new program. We're getting videos to you and getting some posts and some memes and other stuff. Don't know what level of membership you are. There may even be more perks. I'll have to check it out. And wait, there are 2 Sheldon Hughes, because of course there are. Sheldon Hughes with another $2 super chat. Thanks, Cliff, for having Rich on today. It was my pleasure. And again, almost everybody I have on here, I know they're good folks. I have the rule about that, as you know. I want to make sure people are good people, just to have good information, and are different people off camera, not nice people. I was shocked when I talked to him on the phone, and not because I assumed, he must be horrible, but above and beyond, such a nice guy, such a good guy, and doing it for such the right reasons. So it's my pleasure to have him on. Benny Loco, $2. 21st century suffragettes are here for you all. Well, thank you. I keep hearing about you guys, and I've heard about your podcast, and somebody said I should go on it, but I have to be invited first. So you have to invite me if you do want me on. If you don't, I understand. I can be a lot, but I want to thank you all, and also again further encourage you as I do think already I made my joke about the MF word, but because I wanted to have Rich on badly enough, and I knew we were going to end up talking about I don't know, things that rhyme with backs, hacks, and things that rhyme with bovid that have to do with health and stuff like that. And I knew we were going to talk about the 2020 election, which is what my channel was once actually even suspended for 4 or 5 days, because they claimed I was repeating conspiracies that I was debunking, and their AI took it as. And so I have a feeling this one is already is going to not be monetized. So I'm going to ask you if you guys will please join Patreon, please. It's been growing, so I know you've been listening. You can go at the lowest levels, you can go for free, but please go join Patreon. If you can share that stuff, Jim, that would be awesome. Victor Harshman, my wife banned me from sending super chats until I get paid. Sorry, Cliff. Well, if you need the money, your wife is right to do that. So I'm not going to question it. If you can afford and can do it. Really, folks, again, even these ones, the ones that have come in $2, $1, it all adds $1. It all adds up. So if you can join Patreon, please do. If you can give me if you can give a $2 super chat, that would be hugely helpful. A $5 super chat, whatever it is you're comfortable with, or you know, I'm not leaving yet. I'm not quite ready to do who's going with me, but even one right now, just one would make me feel great. And otherwise, Jim, if you find like my Patreon and Substack links and can put those up, that would be great. I'm invited. Cool. Bicycle Mike and Elizabeth. I assume that means the suffragettes thing. Good. Now I know I'm invited. So maybe if you know how to reach me, send me an invite. And if you don't, we'll figure that out offline. Why aren't I wearing a Buckeyes hat from Mr. Stoner? I was thinking about it. Again, my grandfather-in-law got his PhD there. My wife's family, Miami will never win a natty. Well, if you mean Miami of Ohio, because I mentioned that before, that's where my family, a lot of my wife's family went, and that's the people we're fans of. And that's just the way it goes, man. But I like, hey, I rooted for Ohio State. I was pulling for them. I'm wearing an Arsenal hat. For you soccer fans, they're one of my big teams. European Premier League, huge Arsenal fan. The other day they blew a 2-0 lead to tie it 2-2, which pisses me off because they could have chased Liverpool maybe, but they're still, I believe, in second place, which means they get to play in European soccer, and that's what's important. And for those of you who don't watch any European soccer and don't know anything I just said, then that's okay too. We can get back to talking about other stuff. Diane Capobianco, I subscribed to Substack. Thank you. That's huge and awesome, and I appreciate it. Because we're going to be growing that one too. That is a great place to be. And look at that. Even Jim here has got the Substack. Please go subscribe, guys. It's free. It's the same deal. Like, there I put something and I ask people if they can afford it to give something. And maybe down the line, there will be a separate one that will be in addition to the current one where I'll get even more raunchy and whatever. That will be a publication that I will ask for donations for. But the current one, I plan to basically keep free. Things can change, but that's the plan as of now. Karen, there you go. Castelli gave me a $1.99 super sticker. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. See, I'm feeling better already. Feeling better. And Al Yorkie gifted a Cliff's Edge membership. Thank you for that too. As I've said before, we take those. We're happy about those. I'm pushing folks to Patreon instead, just because we can keep in touch and I can keep your information and make sure that I've got not your information like some evil Elon Musk Neuralink thing where I'm going to probe your brain out of like a Clockwork Orange. More I have your email. So if Patreon or if YouTube were to disappear and then Patreon disappeared and we had to find a whole new place, I'd be able to let you know where it is. Right? Makes sense? Mark P, $10. Thank you. That is hugely generous and I hugely appreciate it. Cliff's Edge, Diane Russell has your email address via Andrea. Yep, Andrea, who helps me out with some stuff. She's great. She helps Hal Sparks out with booking. Someone will contact you. Are appearing on 21st Century Suffragettes. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but that's okay. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Mark. That's awesome. And now you all are coming through. You guys are just the best. Mr. Stoner, to you, dude. Go Buckeyes. Hey, listen, I'm still go Buckeyes. I'm excited they won. Beat Notre Dame, which, in this city, in Cincinnati, because of the west side, it's very Catholic. A lot of Notre Dame folks. It's not Columbus where Ohio State is located. And then there's some here who, because the University of Cincinnati fans, don't like the Buckeyes. So it's split here, but we pull for the Buckeyes, no Notre Dame in this house. And we're pretty happy with what happened, especially because when your grandfather-in-law spent 40 years as a professor after a PhD, is an awesome dude, is 96, and knock on wood, seems to be doing well. Like, he's the best. And I want them to win to make him happy as much as anything. Francis Ryle, the $5 super sticker. You guys are just all coming through. Thank you so much, Francis. Francie, my bad. Sometimes I can read stuff wrong. I ain't reading stuff right. You know what I'm saying? Like Sylvester Stallone, that MAGA jerk whose movies I can't watch anymore because he got punched in the head too much and now he's a MAGA idiot. It does make me sad. Although, yeah, that's one thing I'm talking about. The MAGA ambassadors, John Voight, who ever since that TV show where he was like the fixer's dad, I don't even know if he's been anything lately. Maybe. You got Stallone, who's now creating like Rocky 14, because he's got to keep. And there'll be another Rambo soon, I'm sure too, and then another Expendables. Those will keep him going. And Mel Gibson, I just saw, has created a new movie where they literally barely show his name at the end, and of course Mark Wahlberg is acting in it. Because Mark Wahlberg, as we know from his past, is a racist scumbag too, and I don't believe has ever changed. I just believe has kept his mouth shut. But used to run around Boston as a kid, running, yelling, as a teenager in his 20s, and teenager, I'll let you, but in your 20s, running around, I think, using the N word like it was a bodily function. He used it so much. There have been stories of him attacking other gangs because they were not of his, let's call it, skin tone. So, shocker that Mark Wahlberg would act in a Mel Gibson movie. Okay, got off on that rant. Didn't mean to. Why Stallone? How sad, Talia? Yes, I was actually really sad about that too. Because in the past, the thing about Stallone was he'd been a Republican like Schwarzenegger, and I thought he was that kind of Republican. Same with Bruce Willis, like some of the action guys. They were kind of like center right Republicans, tough guys, blah blah blah, tough on crime, whatever. But most of them, like Schwarzenegger, was always pro-choice. He was always believed in gun control, ban assault weapons, and of course, he came out a huge endorsement. It didn't help her win for Kamala Harris, talked about how Trump reminded people of his broken down dad who had been a Nazi and had always regretted it, and it destroyed him. Pretty powerful thing that Schwarzenegger did. And I thought Stallone was in that camp. Stallone came out like when we were doing stuff on gun safety 5, 6, 7, no, at least 10 years ago. He was for an assault rifle ban. He said some other things in the past that were relatively moderate. I knew his brother Frank was a lunatic, but I figured maybe that was just because he was a failed actor and angry. And then boom, he comes out and he goes and speaks at Mar-a-Lago, and I'm not kidding you. He compared Trump to George Washington and how he can change this country. I mean, how can you look at Donald Trump? And again, George Washington owned slaves, so I get the history. We're not talking perfection here, but George Washington also is the only reason we're all sitting here right now, because if he'd accepted the crown and then rejected it and said we're going to be a republic, we could have never improved upon that republic and become what we became. You're comparing Donald Trump to him? I mean, how many scams does he have to pull? How many rapes does he have to commit? How many times does he have to be a felon? How many people does he have to insult so personally, Gold Star parents and others, and just horribly insult and prey on their pain? Like, what does he have to do so that someone like Sylvester Stallone looks at him, and in him, it's like, that's George Washington. I mean, what is wrong with you? I mean, again, like what what's his face was saying, Rich, I don't want to talk about MAGA like a cult, but anybody who would believe that, pretty cultish. Unbelievable. There was I see Shit Dog in there. Snoop Dogg, who is not MAGA and isn't any of that stuff, just was willing to accept a big paycheck. And again, that dude, I don't even get it. He's been openly smoking pot for the better part of 20 years, if not longer, while lots of other black men like him were being thrown in prison for smoking pot by people like Donald Trump. But he's going to accept money to go. He's in everything now. He's like in the NFL. They've got him doing ads. He's like, how much money does one person need to make? What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with their value systems that they're so greedy? I mean, Snoop Dogg, unless he's just spent it on ridiculous crap, it's got to be worth 50, 100, 200 million, right? More, 300, 400. Like, I don't care what the payday was. What makes it worth it to go and go on a stage with that guy? It's just so sad. Yeah, anything for a buck. Well, and that's the thing. I got offered once a whole bunch of those bucks by an oil company to do some PR and try to help whitewash them. And I'm not going to go into details except for to say I didn't do it. Money was good. And I didn't do it. That doesn't make me a saint. Like, it just means I have a soul. I don't understand. I really don't. And I don't have Snoop Dogg's money. Whatever Donald Trump was offering, $1 million, $2 million, I could use that. Still wouldn't do it. Got to be some things that come first. Money comes first. You got a pretty effed up value system. Happy to be poor, Clover. Yeah. Actually, I mean, for me, being rich is has never been a goal. It's having the money to do things for my kids. That's a goal. So I want to be able to take them to like we took a trip to France. I've talked about a few weeks ago, and I was able to take my kids, which again doesn't mean we're rich. It means we had enough money to do that, and to be able to pay for their colleges. And I mean, that's money is something that I need enough of to do some nice things and do some things for my kids. That's the way I see it. These people see it as like, pardon my French, but at this point, I'm sure I've already been demonetized. I don't care. They see it as a dick measuring contest. Like you need more money so you feel that makes you somehow that fills you with like you've got more your ego. You're more important than somebody else because you have more money. People, guys, evolution has failed us. It has. I've talked about that on this show before, but there's no way you can objectively look at evolution and say it's done well. Should have kept us with tails and swinging in the trees. That's my theory. Or, a different species. My cats should have evolved and gotten thumbs and ruled things. Sure, they'd kill anything smaller than them, but as long as you're bigger than them, they'd be nice. They cuddle up to you as long as you give them tuna. I mean, like so human beings, they're evolutionary because we're all supposed to collect resources for our kids, continue the species. But when your evolution is screwed up so much that that in your mind $1 billion isn't enough, or 500 million, or 200 million, or 10 million, or 5 million, like if that's not enough for then there's something that's gone really haywire with your system if you're still collecting resources at that point. Not to mention sexual assault. If you're so haywire that your evolutionary system has you you're so screwed up, you're attacking women theoretically to reproduce as opposed to respecting and developing relationships, then evolution's failed there too. We do still have tails. Well, yeah, sort of. I don't have a long one that's on the ground though, or one like my tails where I can smack, or that's long enough I can smack someone in the face with. So I'm going to consider that not an acceptable tail. Musk does not even support his kids. Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing, right? Elon Musk has 12 kids. It's like the Hegseth and Trump thing, right? How many? 3 women, 4 women? Who the hell knows? And I think that's because he's a little loser incel that any woman he could get, which really was just because of his money, and he's reproducing because he thinks he's superior, but it has nothing to do with them. How do you think kids turn out? And not just the one we're talking about who's trans. He has like no relationship, I think, with almost any of his kids. What's the point? And you're still collecting resources for what? No one's impressed. It didn't make people laugh at your jokes, Elon. They still thought you were a stupid lame brain. They still thought you were a weak old clog filled with poop. They still thought you were a dilapidated, exploded hernia on all over the bowels of humanity. You're nothing, man. You can get as much money as you want. You're nothing. What else we got here, folks? I think we are coming towards the end. Right in time for my computer to die. Because I have an appointment with the gym, and I believe, I believe, but we've got about 14 minutes until our 2-hour time limit before they end up making it so I can't replay these. I've thought about it. That reminds me something. Something I'm going to probably start doing is I'm not going to replay these as many times. I think in some ways it devalues them. I kind of want to give everybody a chance to see them, and I'm interested in your feedback. Trying to get feedback from YouTube, which is almost impossible, too, because I fear that may be part of my algorithmic problem, as they may get mad at me because I think I'm trying to use content too much instead of producing new stuff. Who the hell knows? Trying to figure this all out. But I think what I'm going to do is I do these 3, and then so 2 p.m. every day there'll be one of these. And so what we'll do is, these 3 will each be played once on other days,
So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right, will be played on the other 3 days, and then the one that does the best, people like the best, maybe we'll play a third time on that other day. I think that's how we're going to do it from now on. So I don't think I'm going to put them on at night or in the morning. I think I'll put other content up then. And soon, someday, hopefully, can get you an exact schedule and say, hey, what we're aiming for now is I'm really aiming for is to have these things these 3 days a week, have maybe a 12 o'clock and a 5 o'clock video every day, but maybe one takedown, one interview, and then fit some shorts in there too. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are chock full of content. Well, actually, the other days are too because we're doing the replays too. And that way you would get 2 videos, medium-sized videos, 5, 8 minutes, something like that. You get a live stream, and maybe a recorded one, but you get one of those, and you get a short or 2 every day. Not bad, right? Guys, tell me something. Here's something I want to know. So, as you know, we or you may not know, when I do these medium-sized videos, these takedown videos that I do, and one of them just kind of broke out. A few of them have been having trouble lately. People weren't watching them as much. They used to be between 4 and like 7 minutes, usually 4 and 6 minutes. I kind of lengthen them a bit. What I do at the beginning of this show to like 8 or more because we get mid-roll that way. What do you guys think? Is that too long? I want to know. To answer you, Jim, no. Still no word about the plaque. I've reached out to a related video IQ service who I use for certain things, and I'm hoping they're going to answer some of those questions for me because you can never get in touch with anybody at YouTube. And the needle seems to be stuck at 100,000. Yeah, well, that's what was happening, right? Because they kept lessening me. So now I'm interested because we just passed 100,700. So we're getting towards that point again. Usually it was around 100,800 or 900 when they suddenly took 3,000 away from me. And I think that killed the algorithm. So my hope is we are gaining again. And I have been trying some methods to do it. That's why I'm talking to this guy from Video IQ. And so maybe I'll find out where the plaque is and who I talk to and all the other fun stuff. But again, it's a reminder of why I want you to join Patreon and why I want you to join Substack, because it just shouldn't take this. They should reach out to me and let me know everything. They're supposed to actually give me somebody, theoretically, a person I could speak to one-on-one and get advice from. I heard nothing about that. They're supposed to also give me a blue check mark so people know I'm mean. Heard nothing about that. Uh-oh, low battery. This is going to sleep. So hold on, let's replug in. Finish off this show. Can you all hear me still? I'll look at the audio and see. We can finish off this show. Hello, hello? Yep, you can hear me, I think. We're going to finish off this show with, at this point, but also I'll just, that's the situation. I'm trying to make YouTube work as well as possible, bring as much revenue as possible, so it doesn't just become one of these things where like I'm building up stuff and it's numbers. I mean, 100,000 means nothing if I can't make enough money from that, right? And again, that's some of the demonetization, but also some of the stuff with me being stuck at 100,000, and then I don't know. But you guys give me your stuff. I want to know. Do you like if I'm doing a takedown video where it's a Democrat or a news member or someone like that, could be Fanon, we're from today's thing. Like I'll take today's, you could get Officer Fanon in there ripping the crap out of Republicans, something like that. And then I do my thing, where I rip into them. Like, do you like those things to be 5 or 6 minutes? Or are you okay with those being over 8 minutes? Tell me, because I started doing 8 minutes because it got more mid-roll, but I don't know if that's affecting my views. Yes, WW, it's exactly right what you say. It's like what everybody used to say about democracy. Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the alternatives. YouTube sucks, except for it beats the alternatives. That's exactly true. Substack lets you embed video, and I can see a world in the future where if this stuff doesn't get figured out with YouTube, I will keep putting stuff up here to move people over to Substack and Patreon, and that is all I will use this for. I don't want to do that, but I can see that world if I can't get some answers soon. And hopefully Video IQ can help me, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. At the level I'm at, these videos should be doing better. I should be getting told what I need to do to not get demonetized on these things. They should have somebody talking to me like they should. I should have that stupid silver button, and I don't even care about that. It's more just the fact that no one's contacting me about it. But again, I guess we're going to wait and see. We'll see if hopefully the major purges are done and I will not lose a bunch more people. And that those are bots. But again, shouldn't they have told me that? Penny Loco, 10 to 15 minutes or best. Clover, 6 to 8. Well, 8 to 10 then would be sort of the happy medium, wouldn't it? Those are the two answers I've gotten so far. And if it goes 8, at least, again, it's mid-roll, so I make a little bit more. So I may aim for about 8. 8 to 12, okay. Clover again. But I think that's it, guys. If I'm gonna get stuff ready, get to the gym, do the things I need to do, I think I have to check out of this joint. I don't know if we have a guest tomorrow. That's a maybe. We've got, I think, a pretty good one coming up on Thursday, but that means I'll answer more of your questions tomorrow. We'll have fun. We'll have fun storming the castle. We'll talk about all sorts of stuff. I'll bring a number of topics ready to touch upon, and we'll all be happy, right? We'll all be happy. I see what you wrote. Yeah, they should have informed me, the so-called purges, Jim. I mean, again, what does it take to just say to somebody, hey, we think that these are bots and we're removing them? Is that, what trade secret are they giving away? Just by telling me. And that's what frustrates me. It's really kind of you, Bobby Hansen. Best to you, Cliff. Wish I could help you monetarily. I mean, again, I don't want folks to do it if they can do it. But I will leave on that note. So here we go, guys. You ready? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Just even a 99-cent super sticker. Come on, Patreon. Join Patreon. Something. Give me something small. Don't make me take this goldfish. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me? Don't make me yell it louder. I'll upset the people in the office next to me. Who's coming with me? I'm not going to yell, show me the money, because that's kind of rude and, you'd take it the wrong way. There we go. Michael McAndrews, $1. That's all I needed. See? Now the goldfish gets to stay. See how easy that is? Thank you, Michael McAndrews, for being a constant contributor and supporter. And I think you are, I'm pretty sure, at both Patreon and YouTube member. Yep, there you are, member for a month. Holly Fafo, $2. Benny Loco, $2 super sticker. You guys are great. You always do this when I really call out for it in the end. And that makes it really possible for me to go and make sure I don't become a weak, flabby mass like the richest man in the world and the dumbest president in American history. I can get to the gym. WW333, have Benny on. She has a foul mouth. I could do that, Benny. We could make that happen. Foul mouths are good. I mean, we'll just, again, assume ahead of time that I'm going to be demonetized. Lefty Gramps, $3 super sticker. I thought you said you were leaving earlier, Lefty Gramps. $20 from Michael McAndrews. Oh, Michael. I'm going to owe you money someday, Michael, when I'm going to give you a bonus if this thing takes off for everything you've done. And it doesn't take away from all the rest of you who are amazing. Lefty Gramps with $3 super sticker. Michael McAndrews with $20. You guys are the best. And I think I said some of the other ones quickly, but did not show them. I'm going to show them quickly because I should start asking you earlier and doing my little shtick at the end, because we get really close to the 2 hour mark, and then I get screwed and have to do all sorts of edits to be able to play this a second time. So you guys are fantastic. I'm glad you enjoyed the interview today. We'll have much more tomorrow. We'll rip Trump, we'll rip Elon, we'll rip a bunch of goofball, doofy, half cerebral idiots who follow them around. And as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell. That was a salute, by the way. That wasn't what Elon did. Take care, guys. And Patty O'Neill gifts 1 membership before I can get out. Thank you, Patty. Okay, adios, folks.